Let's get sweaty.
Hey guys, welcome to Shenmue Dojo video. Today's video I'm going to be talking about the legacy that Shenmue has left on the gaming industry. We all know that Shenmue gets, for want of a better expression, probably divisive reactions within gamers themselves. I think probably more retro gamers have a bit more respect for it than maybe newer gamers, and that's probably with the times we grew up with, that sort of thing. Some people even mock it, let's be honest about it. But the one thing that can't be denied, and it's very much entrenched in history, is the influence it had on gaming going forward with the things that it did. Now, Shenmue was not the first open world game per se. I think there are other games out there that had open worlds as such, but none had the worlds and the level of detail that Shenmue did. Shenmue, for me at least, was the first proper AAA cinematic type title that's pretty commonplace in gaming today. It basically walked. So all these other games through the years learnt from it, learnt from the mistakes, learnt from the things that it did well, and essentially Shenmue was the first step in the AAA market, if you like, certainly in my mind, with voice acting, with the cinematics, with the music, with everything. So there's games out there that have definitely borrowed from Shenmue as sort of examples of the legacy, and I wanted to go through some of those as part of this video, as part of this discussion, and then I'll round things off at the end. Now, the first one is the obvious one, and it's probably the best place to start, is the Yakuza, or now known as Like a Dragon series. As I say, blatantly obvious. Toshihiro Nagoshi worked on Shenmue. He was essentially put on the project to get the thing out the door because Yu Suzuki was going mad with all these ideas. They needed to get out the door. But he's very much stated, Nagoshi, that he learned a lot from Shenmue's development, and there's nothing better than a quote that came up, I think, from 2018. This is from Phantom Riverstone. I've got this on their website. And the quote is here. This is on Yu Suzuki himself. He's the person who taught me the fundamentals of games, so of course I respect him. I definitely say it's someone who is very individualistic, but who I can respect. Putting it differently, he's a very important person to me. He's a master. Without his teaching me, I wouldn't have known anything, and I can say that for sure. So that's quite like high praise. It also probably goes in a little bit into they may have had a slightly tense relationship during the development of Shenmue, but that level of respect is still there. And it's very, very clear when you look at the Like a Dragon series, the way the game plays, it certainly borrows from the Shenmue DNA. Obviously, you're a Japanese person walking through a Japanese city, town, whatever. The perspective of the Like a Dragon series is very much third person. It's not over the shoulder like Shenmue 3 did, for example. It's right behind the main character. Not only that, you get into fights. Okay, they're very different sort of fights to the Shenmue series, which I think are a bit more measured. And also, you can go into the arcades and play mini games. Now, this wasn't available, certainly if my memory serves me correctly, in the first two Yakuza games. It might have even been longer than that. My memory's a little bit hazy on that. But you can go into the arcades and play all sorts of previous Sega titles in there. They share a lot in common in terms of some of the gameplay mechanics, but I liken them very much as cousins. They have the same DNA, the same family line, but very much have branched off in very, very different directions. Obviously, Yakuza, Like a Dragon, is wildly successful now. Infinite Wealth has sold millions of copies by this point. It's the most successful game in the series so far. Obviously, Shenmue, unfortunately, hasn't experienced that sort of success, unfortunately, yet. Fingers crossed it may still do, but we'll just have to see how that goes. The bottom line with this is quite simply that Yakuza, Like a Dragon, does not exist without Shenmue. If Shenmue doesn't happen, this Like a Dragon Yakuza game probably doesn't happen for years. I appreciate there's some tension maybe with newer Like a Dragon fans towards Shenmue, but it's not reciprocated from the Shenmue community. Most of us have played a lot of these games and really, really enjoy them. But the fact here is that Nagoshi worked with Yu Suzuki, learnt his trade with Yu Suzuki, and applied this to the Yakuza series. And it doesn't get the eventual success that it's got without Shenmue. That is a complete fact. Obviously, they've gone off in very different directions and are both fantastic series. If anybody hasn't played the Like a Dragon series, go and play them because they are absolutely, what for a better expression, fantastic games, well worth picking up, well worth playing, and yeah, are just absolutely superb. Now, the next game I'm going to come on to, I'm probably stretching it in terms of gameplay influences. I'm more focusing on Yu Suzuki himself here and the influence he's had on the gaming industry as a whole. As I said, I think game developers hold Yu Suzuki in a much higher respect than modern gamers do. I think that's wrong, but yeah, this is what it is. But an example I've got here is Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red. Obviously, it released, it's been very much up and down, but is now very much in the ascendancy, and Phantom Liberty has overhauled the game, and now actually it's a pretty damn good game overall. The gameplay influences aren't directly there. Obviously, you've got a weather system, you've got a day-night cycle, and the world does change with the story as things move on. But this is more around their respect for Yu Suzuki as a creator and the influence that he had on gaming. So I'm going to bring up a few tweets and posts for you right now. So this here is from, I believe, Gamescom 2019. And they thank Yu Suzuki for making open world a thing. This is the official Cyberpunk 2077 Twitter page. Somebody else below has commented to say it was one of the best things to ever happen to the game industry, and they have agreed with that at the bottom there, and wholeheartedly agree with that completely. Skipping a little bit forward here. This is at TGS 2019, so the same year. Yu Suzuki is found on what is V's bike at the Cyberpunk 2077 booth at TGS, and the respect went so far forward that actually upon release they were very much kind enough to send him a copy of the game. This is a collector's edition. I presume he's played it. I'd love to know what he thought of it. But that is the level of respect that they have for Yu Suzuki, that they've gone out there to share with him their game, and the absolute respect for what he did for the industry is there for all to see. So as I said, not like direct influence, I guess, but still the fact that they recognize what he did for the industry, yeah, that says volumes. And as I said previously, I think he's held in much greater esteem by developers who have obviously understand the history of gaming and how influential he was to some of the more modern gamers. I don't want to tie everybody with the same brush, but that's generally what I see in the narrative on social media and things, certainly recently. Moving away from Cyberpunk, I'm going to come on to Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, this was a massive game, Rockstar, wildly successful, all the rest of it. Again, like, there's no direct quotations here, but it's more around the mechanics of the game itself. So you can definitely see the Shenmue elements within it. The first is you have the ability to go into stores, you can handle items and look at them, very much like Ryo can in Shenmue. You know, there's a handful of games that do that. Red Dead Redemption did it. It didn't need to do it, but it did it. I don't know why, but you can see the direct influence of Shenmue from it. You can pick something up, look at it, carry on. The other bit that picks up is the NPC responses to you. They differ upon your actions during the game. So if you're nice to people, they'll say good morning to you. If you go and punch somebody in the face or shoot somebody, they get scared of you, they get wary of you, they'll run away. They react very, very differently depending on your actions, which is really, really cool. Now, they don't have the sort of direct conversations that they do in the Shenmue games, but they do react differently. And that's quite a nice touch in terms of the world building for Red Dead Redemption 2, which actually, the world building in that game is very, very well done. The world feels alive. The cities feel very different from where you visit them. The small towns feel really different. And it's an excellent gaming world to lose yourself in, if though it is very, very big and quite easy to get lost in. Also, on top of that, the weather system is fantastic. It changes with the game, it changes the look, it changes the dynamic, and very, very much leans into that atmospheric type thing that Shenmue does so, so well. So again, they've definitely borrowed from Shenmue without even knowing it potentially, but it's definitely there for the people who obviously like Shenmue and understand that sort of thing. You can definitely see where this has come from. Now, the last game I'm going to come on to is Street Fighter 6. Now, you probably look at me going, why Street Fighter 6? Now, it's very, very simple. Street Fighter 6 has a World Tour mode. Now, this very much shares similarities with the Shenmue series in that you have your own character in third-person perspective. You walk around, you find things, you have fights as you go. But this is very much referenced in an article from Game Rant, which I'm going to bring up right now for you. So this was done in 2022 by Truman2. He's also a very big Shenmue fan, as it turns out. So they're interviewing about Street Fighter 6, and they're touting the whole world tour mode. And they talk about that you go around this universe called Metro City, and he talks about how the world works. So it's Takayuki Nakayama is the games director who worked on this, but he also himself made comparisons to Shenmue, which had the premise of the open world exploration fighting mechanics. Obviously, a little bit of an explanation here about what Shenmue was, and it goes into that. Obviously, had a 3D world with then fighting mechanics, and he. When it was indirectly brought up, Nakayama said it wasn't a direct influence, but it was possible it was in the back of the team's mind when they worked on this. And he goes on further to say that Shenmue was very, very influential and had a big impact on him. So the similarities between Shenmue and Street Fighter 6 are definitely there, but they joke that they could have added capsule toys for the player to collect to make it feel more Shenmue, I guess. But would... essentially suggesting to this interview is a big fan of Shenmue to go and try this out. So it's really cool that a big game, a big developer is again recognizing the impact that Shenmue had on him, on his games, and gaming as a whole. And there are plenty of other games out there with open world that borrow from Shenmue, use Shenmue as sort of the template, and have built from that to go forward. So the final, I guess it's sort of a good segue into the final thoughts on this thing. Of course, I'm not going to lie, I'm a Shenmue fan, I am a little bit biased towards this. Hold my hands up, holy. But the influence it had on gaming in terms of the line of the sand it set, the jump from what were quite empty open world games to massively detailed, brilliant musical score, brilliant cinematics was massive. And what it did is it put a line in the sand for the gaming industry to go, beat that, beat this. And then the gaming industry looked at it and they took from it all the things that were good. They learned from the things that were maybe not so good, and have then gone into this whole AAA open world thing, which I'll be honest with you is very much overdone now. And I think if anything, gaming should look back at games like Shenmue and smaller world type games and look to expand inwards with more detail, more interaction, more atmosphere, than having these massive open worlds that quite frankly get full of bloatware, whatever you want to call it, and you sit there getting bored of doing the same thing over and over and over again. Why not have a game that's 15 hours, 20 hours, but brilliantly detailed? But I've gone off at a bit of a tangent. Shenmue's legacy, its impact on gaming, whether you like the game or not, cannot be denied. I've given 4 examples here, guys. What other examples are out there? Have I missed any sort of standout ones? I did some research on this, and these were the 4 that kept cropping up. Have I missed any games? What do you think about Shenmue's legacy? Does it deserve more respect than it's getting in gaming at the moment? And why? Let me know in the comments below, guys, and I'll pick some up as we go. Now, all that remains for me, guys, is to give a shout out to the members. Now, for £2 a month, you can sign up and you get all the video content ahead of time outside the podcast, which we keep on the premieres. All the money goes towards James and I running the website and competitions, etc. Like I say, a couple of £1 a month, but nothing is locked behind a paywall. So if you don't want to sign up to it, it's absolutely fine. But for those of you who have, thank you so much. Your shout out is coming right now. Starting at the top, BCDC Dude, Sam, Dominic Johnson, Sam Say, Renners, Richard Cartledge, that's me, Carl, Terry, Stuart Peacock, Mark the Pulverizer, Little Crypty Monster, Titch, Richard King, Sean Potter, Guppy Coy, Bruce Wayne 937, Survival Spheres, Peter Hoffland, Sean Don, Wandering Through Shenmue, Phantom River Stone, Bruce Wayne 911, Mike Franz, Manny Figueroa, Master Mo, Nick Hughes, Sean Hastings, Clunky Mage and William Lovering. Thank you guys for being members and enjoying the Dojo content. Wider of that, guys, as I say every video, thank you for dropping in on the content. All the views, all the comments are very much appreciated by James and I. It keeps us producing this content for everybody, and hopefully you're enjoying that. Don't forget to give us a like, share, subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and all the usual places that you can find us. And I will be back with a video in the not too distant future. But for now, guys, take care and have a good one.